The Dead House is a book about a girl called Lauren. Now, it starts when she is 17 and she returns to London after 10 years in Cornwall. It begins when she's standing across the road from a house in Bethnal Green, and you find out that 10 years before, when she was 7, something terrible happened to her family in that house. Now, during the course of the novel, she tries to pull her memories together of what happened when she was 7 years old. So the book is about her trying to retrace those events, and of course through all of this are these kind of awakening memories of that time 10 years before. Because I chose this house to write about, the action of the book has to centre around it all. So the terrible thing that happens takes place in this house, and in a way every scene that happens in the book relates back to what happened in those four walls. And that was new for me because it meant that the house became a kind of character. The memories of what happened almost live in the walls and the floorboards and the windows. Lauren's mother owned an antique doll's house. When Lauren was a child, she used to love to play with this doll's house. And ever since that day when she was 7, the doll's house has been put away, but she begins to think about it again. And this is important in the book because the doll's house is an important feature in her young life. In the Dead House, the house that Lauren revisits when she's 17 years old, all the things that happened in that house are frozen in her memory on that one day when she was 7 years old. I'm going to read an extract of my book, The Dead House, and this comes from right at the beginning when the main character, Lauren, is looking at the house in which she lived until she was 7 years old. It's the first time she's seen the house in 10 years, and I'm just going to read this short extract. Lauren went to look at the house late at night. The street was dark and wet, the rain falling in a warm drizzle. She had a jacket on even though it was too hot. It was buttoned up to the neck and the collar was up as though she was trying to hide inside it. She walked up and down the street for a while, her eyes seeking out the houses until she finally saw it, number 49. She stared at it. She held her breath for a second, expecting something to happen inside her. Some sense of recognition, goosebumps, or a heart racing. But there was nothing. It was just the house, no different from the ones on either side or those in the terrace opposite. She backed into the shadow of a hedgerow and looked across at the building. The darkness had diluted its colours and smudged its shape. Her eyes travelled up and down anyway, trying to find a point of memory. At the top was the attic window. She must have looked out of it when she'd lived there. As a small child, the height might have scared her. Looking down onto the street and seeing cars go by and people walking past. Such a long way down, so far to fall. Had she ever wondered that? There were lights on in the big bay window on the ground floor. A couple of shapes walked back and forward, the people who lived there. Many people had lived there over the last 10 years. A builder had bought it and converted it into 3 flats, letting them for short periods of time. Lauren wondered about all the people who had had the middle flat. Had they known the truth of the house? Had anyone ever told them? The light went off in the attic of number 49. Lauren looked at the black window for a moment. Then she let her eyes drop to the floor below. The room behind the bay window had been her parents' bedroom, a giant room with a huge wardrobe and a chest of drawers which was so solid she could climb up the handles. A memory, a picture which wavered into sight. The duvet cover on her parents' bed was satiny and soft, and she used to lay the side of her face on it. From where she was, she could see the bars of Daisy's cot and Daisy's legs in the air where she was kicking out. Her mum was moving around in the room, her feet soft on the floor. They were getting ready for bed, she thought, all three of them sleeping in the big room. Her parents' old bedroom. It was a room she knew well. 10 years ago, she had died and come back to life in that room.